Good day, everyone. I'm Vince Ronnie L. Hanoras from PCAS 06501A, and today I'm going to discuss the observation of research psychology. Observation, a research technique where you observe participants and phenomena in their most natural settings. This enables researchers to see their subjects make choices and react to situations in their natural setting as opposed to structured settings like research labs or focus groups. Participant observation. Participant observation or PO is a research methodology where the researcher is immersed in the day-to-day activities of the participants. The objective is usually to record conduct under the widest range of possible settings. In participant observation, the researcher is called a participant observer, meaning that they participate in the group's activities while also observing the group's behavior and interactions. Example of this form of participant observation include studies where researchers lived for long periods of time among different ethnic, cultural, or religious communities. Non-participant observation involves observing participants without actively participating. This method is used to understand a phenomenon by entering the community or social system involved, while staying separate from the activities being observed. So, what is the difference between participatory and non-participant observation? Like what I've said earlier, participant observation is when the observer becomes a part of the group that is being studied. So this type of observation allows the observer to get a closer look at the group and their behavior. While when we talk about non-participant observation, this is the time when the observer remains outside the group and simply watches their behavior. Next, we have the naturalistic observation. Naturalistic observation, sometimes referred to as fieldwork, is a research methodology in numerous fields of science including ethology, anthropology, linguistics, the social sciences, and psychology, in which data are collected as they occur in nature. So when we talk about naturalistic observation, it is a qualitative research method where you record the world settings, you avoid interfering with or influencing any variables in a naturalistic observation. So in this observation, you can think of naturalistic observation as people watching with a purpose. Next, we have the simulations. Observation in simulated conditions or simulation analyzes a candidate's performance in conditions imitating real life created for the needs of validation process. So simulation in industry, science, and education, the research or teaching technique that reproduce actual events and process under text condition. Though, so the developing a simulation is often a highly complex and a mathematical process. Next, we have the observer effect. The observer effect is the recognition that researchers are interacting with the system, usually through the instruments of measurement and changing the phenomena being studied. So in observer effect, a form of reactivity in which a researcher's cognitive bias causes them to unconsciously influence the participants of an experiment. An observation bias, it occurs when a researcher's expectations, opinions, or prejudice influence what they perceive or record in a study. It usually affects studies when observers are aware of the research aims or hypothesis. So, in observer bias, the observer bias or the Hawthorne effect refers to the fact that people behave differently when they know they are observed, even though there are some questions about the setup and validity of the studies that introduced this effect. so they made a lasting impact on management practices. Coding observational, a scheme or list of mutually exclusive labels, categories, and so forth, each of which characterizes a coherent dimension of interest used for classifying information obtained by observing others. Data. Research data is any information that has been collected, observed, generated, or created to validate original research findings. Research data may be arranged or formatted in such a way as to make it suitable for communication, interpretation, and processing. Data comes in many formats, both digital and physical. The use of technology. Technology lends immense support in automating various tasks, setting up reminders, communicating efficiently, paying bills at the click of a button, and shopping for the simplest things, such as groceries to investing and valuable assets right in comfort of our homes. Interviewing, a second method used by qualitative researchers to collect data is to interview selected individuals. Interviewing, or the careful asking of relevant questions, is an important way for a researcher to check the accuracy of to verify or refute to the impressions he or she has gained through observation. So now let's move on to the types of interview. There are four types of interviews: structured, semi-structured, informal, and retrospective. Although these different types often blend and merge into one another, we shall describe them separately in order to clarify how they differ. First, we have the structured interviews. A structured interview is a type of interview that relies on a set of standardized and premeditated questions to gather information. On the other hand, an unstructured interview is a type of interview that does not rely on a set of calculated questions in its data gathering process. Next, we have the semi-structured interviews. This method of research used most often in the social sciences, while a structured interview has a rigorous set of questions which does not allow one to divert. Informal interviews. An informal chat interview is a casual conversation between an interviewer and a candidate. Informal interviews. Informal chat interview is a casual conversation between an interviewer and a candidate that is less structured and less formal compared to a traditional job interview. It is typically used to get to know the candidate in a more relaxed environment, to see if they would be a good fit for the company culture. Last, we have the retrospective interviews. Retrospective interviews are mainly used in collective ethnographic research to aggregate and analyze the experiences of people in different situations over a period of time and create a complementary reconstruction of the nature of the experiences. Now, let us move on to the ethics in interviewing. The necessity for informed consent. In-depth interviews ask participants to reveal much about their lives. During such interviews, a measure of intimacy can develop between interviewers and participants that can lead participants to share information about events in their lives that, if misused, could leave them very vulnerable. Participants deserve to be protected from such vulnerability. Furthermore, interviewers also need to be protected against any misunderstanding on the part of participants as to the nature and purpose of interview itself. Thus, we believe that it is ethically desirable in this instance for interviewers to require participants to sign an informed consent form. Informed consent is crucial in research as it ensures individuals have an informed choice about whether to participate in a research study. The requirements for obtaining informed consent from research participants are stipulated by several regulations and policies. Data collection and analysis in qualitative research seeks or collects and synthesizes information from a variety of stakeholders and sources in an objective, unbiased manner to reach a conclusion, goal, or judgment, and to enable strategic and leadership decision making. Different methods of data collection are used in qualitative research. The most common are interviews, focus group discussions, observational methods, and document analysis. A relatively new method is an art based data collection method. That's all for my report.